Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Over Coffee. So this is John Doring, and I'm with my friend Larry Davis here. And we're, again, bringing you another great episode about inspiration and hope and some really good things in this world. And today I'm super excited to have Diana Diaz-Harrison with us. This amazing lady has founded the Arizona Charter Schools of Autism. Is that right?
Arizona Autism Charter Schools.
There we go. Arizona Autism Charter Schools. Mm-hmm. And this is a labor of love, right? Because if I understand your son, Sammy, has autism, and that kind of led you down this path.
That's right. Yeah. Sammy was the inspiration for the first school.
Okay.
And we've grown very successfully over the last 10 years.
That's amazing.
As a matter of fact, this is our 10th year of impact, and we've opened 5 schools in 10 years.
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
That's great. So what's that journey been like? I mean, because you started from zero. I mean, there was no schools and no association or anything, right?
Exactly. There wasn't a specialty charter school for kids with autism. And what's great about charter schools is that you can have a niche focus.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are charter schools for performing arts.
Sure.
There are charter schools for STEAM. But we were the first to open one that really specialized in the therapeutic needs and educational needs of kids with autism. So it was amazing to be able in Arizona to be an education entrepreneur, to be a mom and an educator who saw a personal need and to be able to create something that has just grown and expanded to serve so many kids and families.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you came from an educational background, right? Were you a teacher in California?
I was a teacher in California.
Okay.
So kids and teaching and school has always been a passion for me. I was a little bit of a career changer. I then worked in broadcasting, actually.
Yeah. Was it SRP or APS?
I did that. I did community relations and Hispanic outreach for SRP. But I was a news anchor for Spanish TV here.
Cool.
That's what brought me to Arizona.
Okay.
I got a job at Univision, was an anchor there. But then when I had a son and he had special needs, then your priorities and your focus changes. And, I had a hard time finding a school, and that kind of directed me on the path that we are on today. Yes.
So that's your inspiration, was your son.
Yes. Yeah. And it's really hard as a parent or a mom, to know that your kiddo's struggling and, not working out at school. That's the experience of a lot of autism parents where, they get called because their child's having a behavior, or you can't really be comfortable in your job because you can get a call at any moment, that you have to stop what you're doing to go and address something at a school. Or some parents, they tell me stories that they would just stay in the parking lot. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so sad.
Yeah.
And I knew that there were best practices for kids with autism because we were a part of great early intervention programs here in Phoenix, at the Southwest Autism Center. And I wondered, why aren't we doing that in school? There are plenty of children on the spectrum that need this. The best practices are there, but they just weren't really found in a, kindergarten through 5th grade, middle school, high school setting. So that's what started us on the journey to create Arizona's first autism-focused charter school. And the fact that it was a charter school was super important to me because charter schools are tuition free.
Right.
So they are at no cost to families. There were, a few private schools around, but the cost was, more than $40,000 a year.
When you go to college, right?
Yeah, like when I did it a few years and it was just not sustainable for me. But through the charter school movement here in Arizona and in other states, you're able to do this niche focus, have it be very high quality, like a private school, but at no cost to families.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So the inspiration comes from Sammy, but then you're giving hope to these families, right? So, I mean, tell me about how is it different for them in a charter school with you folks rather than being in a regular school? I mean, do you see better outcomes or how does it look?
Absolutely. I mean, the kids, first of all, are really happy and engaged at school. We also have like smaller class sizes. Larry has come to visit. So
I love it. That's great.
It's very productive, very engaging. The kids have social enterprise businesses. Our average class size is like 9 to 10 students and a lead teacher and 2 behavioral support staff. So the kids can get more support and attention. And that just leads to, them being more comfortable at school, getting their needs met. And then they do all of these STEM and STEAM programs where they learn robotics, animation, coding, and then apply that to projects that are of high interest to them.
How cool.
So it's just a very unique, engaging experience. We've gotten so many national awards, not just because we're a good school for kids with autism, but just a good school in general, because smaller class sizes, personalized learning, and having that be accessible and tuition free for families is really game changing.
Yeah,
a lot of parents are looking for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can you kind of help people understand? Because I don't totally understand it, but I mean, a charter school, so is a charter school a not-for-profit or is it a different? Okay. So it's set up like that?
Yes. It is not required for charter schools to be nonprofits, but when I set out to do this school program for kids, it had to be a nonprofit because I thought, any funding or any grants or anything that comes as a resource should be put right back into the classrooms, the kids, the curriculum, the materials. That was just, the right thing to do.
Sure.
So now we're a very successful nonprofit, having opened 5 schools. And I think, that's probably one of the foundational elements that keeps the quality high.
Sure.
And, as we grow in number of kids, we increase staff. We started with just 90 kids and, about 45 staff. And now we have almost 1,000 kids.
Oh my gosh, that's
400
amazing.
Staff.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's just, not led from a perspective of a bureaucratic education program. It's led with, what would a mom want for their kid?
Sure.
And so how do we replicate that over and over so that every child who, our kids are higher needs, they get what they need at school.
Sure.
So how long was it from your first learn your son was diagnosed with autism till you opened your first school?
It felt like too long. Yeah. So he was diagnosed when he was about 2.5. And he's impacted on the spectrum. There's different levels. But for us, he got kicked out of preschool because of just sensory overload. A lot of little kids and a teacher who doesn't know anything about autism. So I mean, for me, he and I have always been super connected. So it was hard for me to understand why he wasn't able to be engaged at school.
Sure.
But it really wasn't the teacher's fault. He had a real developmental disorder that required more attention than what was available in these typical preschool programs.
Sure.
We switched schools. We went to, autism programs in district schools. We're like, okay, this is going to work.
Yeah.
But still not enough attention or resources or training there. And so we weren't able to start the first Arizona Autism Charter School until he was 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a journey.
So I did pay private school for a couple of years, $40,000 plus a year.
Wow.
And I thought, this is not right. I mean, I'm like overextending myself. How many years can I really do this? And then I learned about charter schools and I thought, you know what, if we can do this as a charter model, we can do the same quality or even better. And parents wouldn't have to worry about paying these extraordinary tuition fees.
Sure.
From the time you conceived the idea, how long was it before you got the first school open?
It took about 3 years. Because I had to set up the nonprofit entity.
Sure.
I had to go before like the state board because charter schools have to be approved by the state. It was a long shot. It was kind of questionable whether there could be a school focused on a particular special need. There were naysayers and there were
Sure.
supporters. But at the end of the day, people on the state board knew that kids with autism were not being well served
Sure.
by
In the
typical
community.
schools. So they only gave us the opportunity for 90 spots
Mhm.
and grades K-5.
Wow.
And they said, we'll see how you do. If
Sure.
you demonstrate that the kids, can make progress in your program, we'll allow for more students in future years. And that's exactly how it happened. We opened our 90 spots. We had to have a lottery even in our first year.
Sure.
Wow.
And then a couple of years later, they let us open up a middle school and then a high school.
Wow.
Now
So
we
all the
have-
way.
yeah.
K through 12, huh?
K-12 plus,
Yeah.
because we have a transition academy now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Where we have the students learning business skills. They have their own little coffee business. They do tech jobs, tech support.
Wow, that's great.
And really, we're trying to help them gain skills that they can apply for a successful future,
Sure.
whether it's supported employment, like what my son needs because he's more impacted, or for high functioning kids that they go into internships and get support they need. Then the supports fade out. But getting kids as productive and fulfilled
Sure.
as possible.
Wow, that's amazing. So this is a whole transition for you. So I mean, you're prior to having your son, you're a broadcaster and you're a news journalist, and then you have your son and you find out that he's got autism, and you totally switch the whole gamut, right? So that's got to be, I mean, what goes through your mind? And I'm sure it got scary at times, right? And like a little nerve wracking. I mean, what drove you to get this all done? I mean, obviously Sammy, but what else was a motivating thing for you?
I think I didn't even know it at the time, but it was education freedom.
Sure.
I thought there has to be a better option. At the time it was like 1 in 150 kids had autism. Then years later, today it's 1 in 36.
Wow.
Okay.
So it's something that, the best practices are available. And actually in Arizona, the funding for a child with autism for schools is pretty good.
Oh, wow.
The
Okay.
funding for neurotypical kids is not great.
Sure.
But for autism, it's good. And I wondered, if the money actually went to the teachers, the classrooms, and the kids,
Well, the impact.
what could we do? How could it be better?
Sure.
Sadly, what happens at districts is that they end up paying a lot of legal fees, and it's a very contentious relationship between parents and special ed departments.
Sure.
I don't know why it turned out that way. I think special needs parents advocate for their kids' needs, and then districts try to do the minimal
Sure.
just to be compliant. And to me, it wasn't about being compliant. It was about, hey, let's put the funding into the kids, the teacher training, and best practices. And we'll see,
Yeah.
I mean, I was open to being on a trial basis,
Sure.
opening for 90 kids.
And give it a shot. That's
and giving it a
amazing, right?
shot. And then year over year, it was clear that we were onto something special. The school was very successful. Like, we survey our parents each year, and the Department of Ed surveys our parents each year. And we have like 97, 98% parent satisfaction rate
That's fantastic.
year over year. And for a special education program, that's unheard of. So, I think now, while the Department of Ed was a little bit reluctant about our
I'm sure
program
they love
at
you now,
first,
right?
now they call us and they, say, how did you get these parent satisfaction results, each year coming in so high? And I said, because it's not really run like a business.
Yeah.
It's run from a parent's perspective. We have to have a board of directors, and about 50% of our board members are parents of kids in the school. So, with charter schools, you are allowed to just cut the crap.
Yeah, right.
And do what's right for kids.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, we've been so successful, and I'm so blessed. We've gotten lots of great national accolades. Last year, we won this, what's known as the Pulitzer Prize of Education, called
wow,
the Yass
cool.
Prize. And it was a big honor because we were competing with schools from around the nation that were district, private, charter, not for special needs kids, just for any kids. And we came out on top and won $1 million prize.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's
so
huge.
That's been huge. And then this year we were selected as the Arizona winner for the National Title I School. So Title I is a program that all charters and district schools are eligible for if you serve a high percentage of people that are low income.
Okay.
So our families and our students, more than 60% are low income. So we're a Title I school.
Sure.
And of those Title I schools, there was a national search to see which schools had the most innovation. And we came out on top in Arizona. So
crazy. That's great.
I know. Yes. So I think we must be doing something right.
Yeah.
And then in a week or two, I will be in Washington, D.C. For a Mothers for School Choice rally. Because while the opportunities in Arizona are good for a charter school, in other states, they're not the same.
Yeah, there's no opportunity, right?
There's no, you can't, do what I did. The education entrepreneurship and parents trying to create solutions, that is a lot more limited in other states. We're now, working on a national project to help other parents found autism charter schools in other states. And there's just more, there are more barriers, more red tape, more difficulties in parents just being empowered and creating solutions in other states than in Arizona. So I was invited onto this Mothers for Education Freedom rally because really parents know best what is good for their kids. We don't need a teachers union telling us what's best for our kids. You and I know and if it's not working out in a typical school, then we should be allowed to create solutions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So was there an inspiration when you were going through this, or were you guys like the first model for it?
There were autism charters in other states.
Okay.
So one model that I looked at closely was the South Florida Autism Charter School.
Okay.
And actually now they are our partners in helping out founding teams in other states. But it was a good model to research because the funding for kids with autism is similar in Florida as it is in Arizona. I pitched the idea to, higher level education professionals than me here in Arizona, but really nobody wanted to do it because it's expensive and because of the potential risk and litigation. There's
Which is
a lot.
Bummer, right? Everything's risk and litigation.
Yeah, but I didn't care. I just needed a solution.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so now, it's not been without its bumps. I definitely have had to grow a very thick skin, but it's a thick mama bear skin.
I love that.
Yeah. So what's really exciting is that now that Sammy's almost turning 22.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. He is no longer eligible for charter school services when none of the kids when they turn 22. We have a very nice transition program for 18 to 22 year olds, but that all goes away.
And the cutoff age is when?
22.
22.
And so I went again, just like that kindergarten mom, to see what programs are out there that are engaging, innovative, and productive.
So you got another thing coming here, right?
And age appropriate for Sammy, because I did not want Sammy sitting around rocking in a chair doing puzzles all day. Like he's used to doing a lot better. And sadly for his level, all that was really out there was more like adult daycare. And no, that was not good enough. So now I have a state contract to do an adult supported employment program. And adult training. And so we're starting 4 businesses.
That's fantastic.
Yes. We're so
will
excited.
that be kind of like you bring in piecework, or you're working with outside companies, or how
No,
are you
we
doing
actually
that?
are starting 4 businesses.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, we're starting a coffee shop,
Okay.
which I, bounced ideas with Larry since he's
Sure.
in the coffee business. And so it'll be like a real working, going to Starbucks, but
Yeah.
there will be kids on the spectrum learning job skills in there. Just making the coffee, doing the marketing, filling the orders, all the steps that it takes to run a coffee shop. And, people from the community, parents, or just passersby can go and get coffee from the Puzzle Press Cafe. And then we're doing a coding and gaming design studio that will also be a tech repair business, like our own little geek squad where, if your iPhone breaks, you can go get it fixed. And the kids are already learning those skills in the high school transition. We're doing a shipping and receiving, like a little UPS store, where people can, pick up, drop off Amazon packages. And, we're working on connections with, UPS, FedEx. And then the 4th business is a shirt making.
Oh, yeah.
We do a lot of logoed logo wear. We're very proud of our puzzle. The puzzle is the international symbol for autism.
Okay.
So you can see my logo here.
Sure.
The kids and the staff are in uniform. So we actually got a grant for all the silk screening equipment.
Wow, that's fantastic.
To do silk screening.
Sure.
And then have a little retail shop where the kids can create the embroidery or the silk screen, and then can sell the shirts or whatever swag, totally. The community requests. So those businesses are under construction.
Sure.
And I know that I'm super blessed because the ribbon cutting for our Essential Enterprise businesses, fingers crossed, will be on Sammy's 22nd birthday.
Oh, how cool is that? So you literally changed the spectrum of children with autism in 20 years in Arizona.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Well, my curiosity is what drives you from doing what you're doing now till your next idea? So when you started the school, you probably were not thinking about flying drones in your classroom. Literally.
Yes. The kids do get to do all this fun, innovative stuff. I think I always had an entrepreneurial mindset. That's why I love to talk to other entrepreneurs. And when the driving force is your kids, because now I consider them all my kids, then there's nothing that's going to stop you from iterating to the next idea for them.
Sure.
My kids were just interviewed for a magazine article yesterday, and it's higher functioning kids, very verbal kids that are, flying drones and coding and just like very much comfortable with their neurodiversity at our school. And they tell me that, at other schools, they didn't really want to go because they were bullied.
Sure.
They were bullied because they were different.
Yep.
And it breaks my heart.
Yeah,
it breaks my heart,
horrible,
And I just want to I don't want there to be a cliff where they fall off because they're 22 or because there's, no state contract for that or whatever. I want to build a solid bridge. Kids like Sammy will probably always work in the supported employment, social enterprise businesses, but he will have somewhere to go every morning, be a productive adult and put on his uniform and know that he's contributing. Some of our kids can go work at Intel or go to ASU or GCU, but they need more support and facilitation to make it there, stay there. They need mentors. They need people who know about autism and all of the social nuances that might be difficult for them.
Sure.
So we want to be there for them. Some of our kids, like we want them to fly and not be in our very protected bubble.
Right.
But I don't want the cliff of service to fall when any of them turn 22.
Yeah.
And when we were building, we did a groundbreaking. It was a wall breaking because we're renovating a building. Parents stopped me in the parking lot in tears because they were like, we were so worried about what is my son or daughter going to do after AZACS.
Yeah.
Because there are some pretty good programs. Some of them are tuition based. Some of all of the good ones have long waiting lists.
Sure. Yeah, I bet.
So for parents to know that our program will grow with them is very, very reassuring. That the kids will have somewhere safe, engaging, productive to go. Really, for some, our program will be a forever program that we will replicate because we have sites in Central Phoenix, Peoria, Tucson. We'll definitely do our adult programming in those sites as well. But yeah, we just want to be, this sounds a little grim, but we want to be there cradle to grave.
Sure.
So that the kids always feel like they have a home and the parents always feel like they don't have to worry about, school or jobs or adult programming.
Yeah. That's absolutely fantastic.
So you care for a ton of people, teachers and students. What's your support group like for you to keep you going?
I would say this past year when we won the Yass Prize in 2022, it connected me to a whole community of education entrepreneurs that I didn't have access to before. Here in Arizona, there's a group called A for Arizona that is also supportive of leaders who are creating solutions that are school-based solutions for kids and family. So that's a wonderful group. One of the, most well-known education freedom leaders here in Arizona was Lisa Graham Keegan. She was one of the people who initially supported the charter movement about 25 years ago. I've gotten to meet her and just hear, how there are certain key people who blazed the trail so that I could have an idea for a school and actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your support network that you have around you.
I would say yes. It's a little lonely to, be the top person in a very growing organization. But there are some amazing people who support, the education freedom movement generally that are now my support.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what would you say, what level was the most challenging to get going? I mean, was it the original one or is it now the new endeavor?
It's all the time.
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
All day, every day. No, I think what's hard is, I mean, you are like hearing my story and it came from a mom wanting to create amazing daily programming for kids. But that doesn't mean I don't have to go through state and federal compliance audits. I'm going through one right now.
Right.
And we go through them every year.
Sure.
And they are, very tricky and very ominous, sometimes. What's always my thought and my saving grace is that we do everything by the book.
Right.
We actually put the money into the classrooms and the kids. We just have to cross every T and not miss anything. I always tell my team, let's just not do anything that gets me into an orange jumpsuit because it is government money.
Sure.
And there is a ton of regulation. I think that's what stops a lot of people from doing charter schools. And some people say, there's not enough regulation. Oh, no. There's a ton of regulation for charters. There's, kind of some grumblings about lack of regulation for like the school voucher program. That's not really, we're not a part of that because we're not a school voucher program.
Right.
Parents don't need that to go to our school. For charters, there's a ton of regulation. And so it's, it was what I needed to learn, even though for me it's a passion and a project made from a mother's love, I had to learn how to have sustainable budgets, how to be state and federally compliant. If I got a private grant, what does that grant need for me to be compliant? So I had to take care of the business side while never losing focus on the mission. And also, just being able to demonstrate by our kids and their progress that the money was being well spent.
Right. Yeah. So how do you feel now that you're working at kind of a national level? Do you feel like you're able to impact other states and get other schools going and doing that?
Yeah, that's what's a real blessing. That because we've been such a success story, now there's data and there's real qualitative and quantitative data that tells other school authorizers in other states that this is needed.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, it works. It's not something that is like isolating kids on the spectrum. It's helping kids on the spectrum actually blossom in more supported environments. And so, I'm so happy to share. We're supporting a founding team that is an autism mom and a speech language pathologist that wanted to do an autism focused charter in Louisiana.
Wow.
They got approved and they're now enrolling. They busted their online enrollment system like in the first couple of days because parents were flocking. They needed this option in that part of Louisiana. And so that's our first school we supported. That mom reached out to me, I don't know, I want to say about 3 years ago.
Wow.
And I didn't have an organized way to support these teams that were reaching out to me. But now we do, through the National Accelerator of Autism Charter Schools, have a whole fellowship program where teams come to our school for a week at a time and just learn the nuts and bolts of how to serve such a high needs population. Then we are supporting a lady that is starting Nevada's first autism focused charter school. And
that's an easier drive for her.
Yes, exactly. And then we're helping another group to do a second autism charter in Florida. So it's a movement.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would be blazing a trail to this degree.
Sure.
But again, when it's for the kids, and I know how good it can be for the kids to see kids that were previously disengaged and feeling bad about their neurodiversity, for them to feel, I have kids come to me and say, Miss Diana, autism is my superpower.
Wow,
this is what I figured out today.
Yeah.
Yesterday I went into a class and they have so exceeded my expectations.
Sure.
And they know they blow me away. They're like, check this out. We made a hydraulic bridge.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, what?
And the printer, that was pretty cool.
Oh, yes. They do 3D printing.
Oh, wow. How cool is that?
Yes. A lot of our kids are just really good at drawing sketches.
Sure.
And so then our STEAM teacher, amazing teachers, they taught the kids how to put those sketches into a digital format. And then the digital format goes into a 3D print.
Oh my gosh,
I'm like,
that's amazing.
They're so smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, a lot of education people complain, there's a shortage of teachers.
Yeah.
Teacher pipeline, yes, that is all true. But we have our own teacher certification program now where we can take staff and take them through a 2-year job embedded program where they will come out certified, because I wasn't going to just sit back and say, whining and crying, there's not enough teachers. Well, let's create some teachers. Let's make the job more enticing. And then I brought a cohort of teachers from India who just elevated our STEAM program, our science, tech, and math. And it has been those teachers who have elevated all those tech programs that you saw.
That's incredible.
Because again, when you're a mom, you're just not going to sit back because there's a gap to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I always said, my recruitment is around the world. I will find the best teachers in the world for my kids.
I love
that.
You
also have on-site medical care too, which is pretty cool.
We do. We have the most amazing registered nurse and nursing assistants for our program. Our kids on the spectrum sometimes also have other co-occurring medical issues.
Sure.
Like we have a lot of kids with seizures. So we have the most amazing medical staff that is just, sometimes I feel, gosh, these guys are, better than what I've seen at a hospital.
Yeah.
Because they're so responsive to, code blues or anything that may happen. That again, we're able to take the funding and put it into, what the kids need and talk about whole child, right?
Yeah.
From, high tech teachers to, medical support staff and therapists, speech therapists. If when you really do it from a standpoint of supporting all the parts of what the child needs, then that staffing model will come together.
Sure.
Another thing I have up my sleeve is that, we acquired a new building for the social enterprises, the 4 businesses I described. And then upstairs, there happens to be a medical suite where we just want to train more nurses and doctors to work with our kids.
Oh my gosh. It's just amazing. So when it comes to stories of hope and inspiration, this one is incredible. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Share a little bit, like, how can people get involved? How can they donate? How can they reach out to you? How can they learn more?
Yeah, we have a beautiful website at autismcharter.org. On there, you will see our social media handles also. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And with our celebration for our 10 years of impact, there's information on our website for that. We are having our 10-year anniversary event on April, Autism Awareness Month. We are fundraising to, just have more funding for our businesses. Every donation goes to our nonprofit, and the funding goes to enhancing our amazing programs for kids. So autismcharter.org. I welcome your listeners and viewers to go onto that and just see what we're all about.
I love it. So that was just another amazing inspirational story. Thank you, Larry, for being here. Thank you, Diana. I really appreciate it. Arizona Autism Charter Schools. And just what an amazing story. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.